And President Trump is denying a report he insisted Ukraine surrender the entire Donbas region to Russia. Trump met with Ukrainian President Zelensky on Friday, who said Trump has a big chance to finish the war. The Financial Times reported Trump insisted Zelensky cede Donbas to Russia in that meeting, but now President Trump says he never discussed it.
No, we never discussed it. We think that what they should do is just stop at the lines where they are, the battle lines. You have a battle line right now. The rest is very tough to negotiate. If you're going to say, you take this, we take that, there's so many different permutations. Let it be cut the way it is. It's cut up right now. I think 78% of the land is already taken by Russia. You leave it the way it is right now. They can negotiate something later on down the line. But I said, cut and stop at the battle line, go home, stop fighting, stop killing people.
ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy is here with more on that. Mick, President Trump has shifted his tone on territory concessions. Last month, he posted on social media saying Ukraine can win back all its territory. Now he says they should stop the battle lines where they are. What would that look like, and what do you make of that shift?
So, Diane, this is really going back to the original proposal that Lieutenant General Kellogg presented. If he means that they would freeze the lines as they are and then have a ceasefire and enter into negotiations, that doesn't mean that Ukraine has to legally concede the territory that Russia occupies now to Russia. It simply acknowledges that it will be very difficult for Ukraine to take that territory back, and it is better to have a ceasefire and start negotiations than continue this war.
The president is considering supplying Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles. Zelensky says it's good that Trump didn't say no in their meeting, but he also didn't say yes. So what does President Trump need to consider here, and what's at stake?
So one of the biggest criticisms of the U.S. throughout this has been this hand-wringing on every advanced weapon system that we provide, whether it's the F-16s, the M1 Abrams, the HIMARS, and now the Tomahawks. Essentially, the longer we delay, the less consequences are to Russia, and they will just continue the war. They're happy to have as many summits as possible. It might be that this proposed summit in Budapest is going to see if President Putin doesn't agree to a ceasefire, these Tomahawks approved, which would be very helpful because they have a range far beyond anything the Ukrainians have right now and would put many air bases and military installations and energy facilities in Russia in reach that are now out of reach. So it has a significant consequence. Hopefully, the U.S. will approve this. If they're waiting for the summit, okay, but it's important that there is consequences coming out of that summit for Putin if he doesn't agree to the ceasefire.
President Trump is suggesting Putin and Zelensky should take part in the Budapest summit, but separately. How likely is that, and what are you watching for leading up to that summit?
Well, I guess it could be an incremental step for them having face-to-face discussions on negotiations. I would say normally negotiations start with the staff. They don't start with the principals because they need to work things out, get to an agreement, and then you bring the principals, in this case, the two presidents, into the agreement. It's usually not negotiated by two combative, essentially commanders and chiefs of both of their armies. It's just not how it's done, but this is another way to do it. President Trump could be the mediator, but essentially, if there's no consequences to Russia coming out of this summit, then they will be happy to have a summit every month as long as they can continue the war with no, secondary sanctions being passed by the Senate, with no unfreezing of their frozen assets in Europe going to Ukraine, and no approval of Tomahawk missiles or the German variant to that. Those are all things that would actually get Russia to concede to a ceasefire as they would see the tide of war shifting against them.
All right, Mick Mulroy, our national security and defense analyst, thank you.